This is Street Knowledge with Chris Graham.
Welcome to the podcast. Chris Graham. I'm joined by Rod Mullins. Rod, the editor of Appalachian Chained. And, we're going to talk some NASCAR, some football. We'll see what else we get into. And Rod, I guess first off with NASCAR, you might have gotten the email today that I got. I know that we've been going back and forth about the season preview coming up in January at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So, at least as it is now, you'll be representing Augusta Free Press at that season preview at Charlotte. Get a few days to possibly mingle with some of the NASCAR greats and get us ready for the 2018 season. So that sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great experience for me to be there and to have a chance to maybe find out what some of these teams are going to do for next year for the 2018 season. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So, of course, here on Augusta Free Press, be looking for the coverage there, getting ready for the 2018 season. And we've got a couple stories we wanted to get into here. Rod, you filed a story back in August with us, Brad Keselowski, about how Brad was pulling out the Truck Series ownership, but some news in the last few days about how he's at least aspiring to do more, actually, than even Truck Series. He's looking down the line at the main series, the Monster Cup Series. Talk about the Monster Truck Energy. Talk about what his long-term dreams are as far as ownership, and how important it is that guys like him kind of replace that current generation, the aging generation of owners, and we get some new blood in ownership circles.
Well, I think the big thing for Brad Keselowski right now is he's had a little bit of experience, and like you said, with the Truck Series. But he's looking, I'm sure, like Dale Jr. and some of the others. Tony Stewart has already made the jump. But, you've got a couple of these younger drivers that are either getting out of the business or going to be getting out of the business at one time or another here within the next few years because of the youth movement that's coming up in NASCAR. And Brad Keselowski is kind of looking out for himself a little bit. You can't really blame him for that because he's looking out for himself with that. And Roger Penske has been really good to Brad Keselowski, allowing him to have his team. He's also supplied him with many things over the few years that he had that truck team. But, he's just looking. It really didn't end up being, I guess, a total success per se, if you want to call it that, in the Truck Series when he had the Truck Series, the truck this past year, and he pulled out and he said, I don't know if I'm going to get back into it. Well, I kind of knew then that I didn't think he would be getting back in the Truck Series as much as maybe starting to focus on the Monster Energy Series, and that's where he feels like it's going to be a big change, and Dale Jr. is already making that move. I don't think we're going to see it here for at least a couple of years because Dale Jr. is going to have the NBC gig where he's going to be on TV there in the second half of the season. But he also has some people that can run it behind the scenes. His sister, of course, Kelly, is going to be able to run some things as well. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a dipping your toes into the water, so to speak, and going a little bit at a time until you find out what the temperature of the water is going to be. And then I think Keselowski will really jump all in, and then he'll say, I'm done with the sport. I'm going to move on to being a car owner.
Yeah, what I find interesting about this is we think as fans about how the series, the Truck Series and the late model series, how they're feeding grounds for the main series in terms of drivers. I don't think we think much about how owners also contest those grounds too. But as you mentioned, there are a few names there of folks who are testing the waters. They're learning what it takes to be an owner, what it takes week to week, and putting together a team and everything else. And so yeah, as much as it's sort of like, I guess, for fans of like baseball or football, if you own an NFL football team, this is a chance to own sort of more like a baseball team. If you own a minor league baseball team and you say, you know what, I know what it takes to run a baseball team now. Now I'm ready to own a big league team. It's sort of, in some ways, sort of a proving grounds just like that. And you really learn what it takes, because these guys, of course, they have the experience of driving and they know that side of things. But there's so many more aspects to being a team owner. Keeping the garage open, getting the drivers together, getting the crews together, and keeping things running. There's so many moving pieces to a successful NASCAR team, and they get to learn that, at a place like the Truck Series, and then move their way up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. right. And, it's not been an easy thing for drivers either that have made the jump to going to owning a car team, for example. I guess the only exception with that has been one of those has been Richard Childress. Richard Childress has had a lot of success, of course, his time when he left driving, and then he became a car owner and then fielded cars for Dale Earnhardt. But then, he kind of hit a lull, and I wouldn't say that he is not a force to be reckoned with in NASCAR right now, but he has learned, he's been through the series, and he knows it, and I'm sure that, like everybody else, he's had the ups and downs. Richard Petty is another, and Richard Petty, of course, had trouble this past year and losing the Smithfield, but then I think the outcry over it when the Smithfield sponsorship was going to be pulled, and then suddenly Smithfield kind of came around and said, well, we'll stay on for another year in kind of an associate sponsorship position. I think it also showed, too, that the name, the recognition and things right there, Richard Petty still has some pull in the sport. He may not be putting a lot of winning cars in the winner's circle, but the name still kind of goes along with that whole thing about winning and being a successful car owner.
Okay, let's switch gears, talk another name, Kyle Busch, one of the early favorites for the 2018 championship. Getting a head start, the Snowball Derby. This sounded interesting, Let's talk about, getting out of the NASCAR, getting into the late model. I love seeing, these reports when you hear about guys like Busch racing, outside of the NASCAR series. They will dip their toes into different ponds, so to speak, and sound like a very thrilling Snowball Derby win. Take us through what happened there.
Well, basically, Kyle Busch just wanted to have something to be competitive with. He wanted to just do something to keep him busy right now during the off season because he has a new fire about him, or so to speak. He says he has a new fire about him, something that he says he didn't have prior to the championship weekend at Homestead. And he went down there to Pensacola to get there and enter a car into the Snowball Derby, which is like one of those things that attracts all these drivers from there at Martinsville when they have the late model race. They bring in tons of these drivers in from all over the Southeast. And the Snowball Derby is a really popular event. And he came down there and he just pretty much, of course, he's got the bucks. He's got some of the engineering expertise with some of his help on some of his Grand National team, or what I call the Grand National team of his Xfinity series, and some of the other things with the Truck series. And he pulled off a big win down there. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that says, well, it's just another way Kyle Busch just shows his dominance. But it says a lot when a guy can go from the top series and walk into a late model car, and he walks away with a win in the Snowball Derby against a lot of tough competitors.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, when you're in the top series, you're in the NASCAR, top level of NASCAR, and you've been there for a long time. And of course, you're Kyle Busch. You have access to the best teams, the best machines, the best engineers, and then you get out of that comfort zone. And all of a sudden you're on an even playing field with guys who, and of course they're gunning for you. I mean, if you're Kyle Busch, you're one of those because there were other NASCAR top series drivers there as well, but everybody wants to beat you because you're Kyle Busch, and to go to that level and still be able to win that race. I mean, there's a lot of pressure there because I love expectations there, but also again you're outside your comfort zone. You got to put that together yourself. So. Yeah, it really speaks volumes as to his even just showing up and racing a race like that, but then going out there and battling and dueling and winning a tight race like that. That says a lot about Kyle Busch.
Yeah, it does, and he's competitive. I mean, every bone in his body, he's competitive. He does not mince words when he tells you that when he goes out there and he doesn't give his full 100% out of it. He lets you know that it was a disappointment to him, and he tells everybody about it. And he comes back and he counters that the next week with a dominance like he did at Bristol back here in August. I mean, that was just unreal. A lot of people thought that there was no way he was going to be able to make a sweep that weekend, and he did. And I thought he was out in the Xfinity race that night. I thought there's no way he's going to be able to cut back and win this. He comes back and he wins it. And then the same thing goes in the Monster Energy Cup race. I thought he was going to be out. There was going to be no way he was even going to be close, and then he still ends up winning it. So he's got something in him, and he's just got this desire to win, and he's going to win at all costs, and that's just the way Kyle Busch is.
All right, Rod. So give us. We talked about the 2018 season preview coming up next month in Charlotte. Daytona's in February. Give us some dates. When do the teams get back? They start their testing for 2018. They may already be working on some things right now. But give us sort of the. There's not a long off season in NASCAR these days. But maybe give us some of the highlights of the off season heading into getting ready for Daytona.
Well, right now, the biggest thing that's going on for Chevrolet is going to be the switch over to Camaro. That's going to be the big change because they are dropping the SS model, the Super Sport model that they'd had on the circuit for a number of years, and they're going to the Camaro frame and the Camaro model. And so that's going to be something that they've already been playing around with the engines with, and they've already been kind of playing around with the frame and so forth. But they'll have a little bit of some time here in December to kind of have some family time. I know that I've been following some things of Chase Elliott and some of the rest of the drivers. A lot of them are involved in a lot of promotional things right now, but the teams are going to be really kicking in. If they're not doing it now, they will be doing it here within the next couple of days, and they'll be working on a lot of different strategies, trying to get the cars ready. By January, it'll be full blast is what it will be. There'll be full blast into it. And by the time that February rolls around, we get to the middle of February. You've got about the middle of February, you've got speed weeks, and that's a little bit of time to kind of practice and get some things accustomed to in your car. And then right toward the end of February, you've got the Daytona 500. So it's really there's no downtime. I spoke with a young man who's a gas man, who was a gas man for Danica Patrick, and he's going to be moving on to one of the teams with Stewart Haas Racing. And he's from my hometown. As a matter of fact, he's from Wise, Virginia. And he was just telling me the other night, he's celebrating his birthday, and he told me, he says, I've got very little downtime right now. He says, got a little bit of some time to be able to enjoy some things, but not a whole lot of free time. So they're already, a lot of teams are already in full gear getting ready for Daytona coming up in February.
Well, that's the nature of sports in this day and age. All sports, off season just means you're still working, and just maybe not traveling as much, but you're still working hard. Rod Mullins, editor of Appalachian Chain, joining us here on the podcast. And one thing with Rod, we've had some fun the last couple of weeks, and we'll probably have fun for a little while longer talking about the still ongoing Tennessee coaching search. Now, Rod, since Tennessee fired Butch Jones, they did that in the season so that they could get a head start on getting a new coach in place. We've already had. Texas A&M has fired Kevin Sumlin, replaced him with Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher's been replaced by Willie Taggart from Oregon. He's now at Florida State. We've had Scott Frost leave from Central Florida to Nebraska. All this has been going on. I guess Florida's got a new coach. All these moves have been made. Tennessee's still out there hanging blowing in the breeze. What's the latest on this? I've heard some coordinator names now being thrown about, maybe some more realistic names, I guess you could say. But it doesn't seem that they're any closer to hiring anybody, at least from the last I've heard. What's the latest?
Well, the last time that we talked, there was not a firing of John Curry, the athletic director at UT also, and that came as a shock to me. And I pretty much, from what I gathered, they called him in California as he was in the middle of talks with, of all people, Mike Leach, and possibly signing Mike Leach to the head coaching job at Tennessee. And the new president at the University of Tennessee, who came to him from Georgia, Beverly Davenport, recalled John Curry back to Knoxville. And then when he got into Knoxville, they said, "You're fired. You're out." And so immediately at that point, in steps in Philip Fulmer, the former coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, up through about, 2007, something like that, or through the mid-2000s, and he steps back in a acting, or at least that's what they're calling it right now, acting athletic director role. And he is now pursuing possible leads as to who they're going to have as the new head football coach at Tennessee. Some of those names that's being tossed around, well, one of those names went out the window today with the hiring of Chad Morris at Arkansas. They were looking at Chad Morris. He was at SMU. He had done some things for them, but then Arkansas has now moved in. They've cleaned house at Arkansas, and now Chad Morris is going to be at Arkansas. They're looking at Jeremy Pruitt as one of those. They're looking at him as a possibility as maybe being a coach because he's a former Tennessee player. He's at Auburn. They're looking at a Georgia defensive coordinator and maybe an Alabama defensive coordinator. And then also the name T. Martin keeps on popping back up. A lot of people are betting right now that T. Martin might be the name, but right now at this point, it's anybody's guess because this thing has gone on for so long. There has already been so many decommitments right now in the Tennessee football program. You've got to wonder what in the world is going to happen at Tennessee next. And it's kind of been quiet, but I'm kind of waiting for the next big bomb to drop before it's over with.
Yeah, I think the first deadline that's coming up, so to speak, with recruiting, as you talked about, decommitments from the program. There's the new early signing deadline. There's always that the first Tuesday in February when players could commit, sign the paper, et cetera, to commit to a program. But they've added this, I think it's December 20th, December 21st, something like that, which is just 2 weeks away, where players can sign early, get that process over with, et cetera. Well, obviously you wouldn't have a coaching staff in place if there are players who can sign early, that early, only 2 weeks away. That's why you fired Butch Jones back in November, I guess, to get that head start on a new coach, et cetera. Get a new staff in place to appeal to those first level recruits. Even though recruits now aren't going to likely have any impact on the field next season, you're getting a head start on 2 or 3 years away being good. And of course, getting everybody in place for spring practice, etc. But yeah, that's those are the two deadlines. I mean, for years, college programs looking for a change in head coach would that first either the Sunday after the final Saturday regular season game or the Monday after. That's when those moves were made. Just because, hey, at that point you're already on the clock for February. But now with that new early signing deadline in December, you're really on the clock right after the season's over with. I'm not surprised. It sounds like, Rod, you were surprised that the John Curry being fired. Now, I think he'd only been there since April, so he hadn't been in place very long. But to me, when the Ciano debacle kind of went down, there had to be no confidence in him. Fair or not, that was on his watch, and if you're the leadership at the University of Tennessee on the academic/business side, you probably knew you were going to be making a change in athletics director, and you couldn't let him hire the new coach because the first thing a new athletics director is going to do, if assuming you would eventually fire John Curry, would be to want to have a football coach. That's the biggest job that that the athletics director fills at any school, especially a Division I and 1A school. And so I could kind of see that, but of course what that does is put you further down the line of, if you got to get a new AD in place and Fulmer's the acting AD, that just puts you, further another week or so added to this process. This is not good. This is just not good for Tennessee.
No, it's not. And then the other thing too, who comes out smelling like a rose in this is not the athletic department with their football head coaching job hire, is whoever it's going to be. Who comes out smelling like a rose in this, or at least according to public sentiment, is the Tennessee fans, because they've been telling everybody in social media since all this happened, we got John Curry fired, we took back Tennessee athletics to where it belongs, in the power of the people. And I'm like, in one sense, I agree with that. They did bring that back because they fought for, at least they're wanting somebody that's at least a good quality coach. But at the same time, they have lessened the product that much more as this almost band, to me, a band or a group of psychopaths that is just going out and telling everybody and stuff, if you're going to come to work for Tennessee, you're going to have to deal with us and we'll make your life miserable. And you've had a lot of fans that have been questioning now some of the sanity, if you want to call it that, of some of these so-called Tennessee ball fans, because you have diehard fans that will stick through anything, through thick and thin, and then you have the psycho fan that's out there that just goes off on the turn of a switch, and that's what happened, they think, with this one. And it's giving a lot of the Tennessee fans, some of the best Tennessee fans in the world, a bad name right now.
Yeah, they're winners until the next attempt to hire a new coach is announced, and if it's not, and it's not going to be, but if it's not John Gruden, these fans are going to revolt again. I'd say the big winner to me is Phil Fulmer. He got ran out of town 10 years ago, and now he's back. He's the conquering hero. It's kind of like Caesar has been put back in place. Reading some of the stories, at least people who purport to know what's going on behind the scenes, he sort of maneuvered his way into this. So, for Fulmer, hey, 10 years ago you ran me out of town. You couldn't take one 500 season out of me, and now look how things have gotten. I'm back in place. I'm going to fix this. And again, until he names a person, he's going to be. It's kind of like how the backup quarterback. The fans of a struggling team love the backup quarterback until the backup quarterback actually gets in the game. And then you see how bad the backup quarterback is too. Right now, Philip Fulmer is the ultimate backup quarterback. He's the backup AD, and until he hires his own version of Greg Schiano, because if it seems to me at this point, if you end up hiring someone else's coordinator, which I think is probably a smart move. I mean, you can do what Virginia did and steal away a Bronco Mendenhall from BYU, which was a total surprise. You can do what Virginia Tech did and get lucky with a Justin Fuente. He was at Memphis for a couple of years. And has done a great job at Virginia Tech in 2 seasons. I mean, you can roll the dice that way, but it seems to me that the Tennessee fan base is going to expect their own version of a Jimbo Fisher hire, and I just don't see that being possible at this stage. I don't see a Jimbo Fisher type saying, "Yeah, I want to leave where I am now, and I'm going to go and try to appease this crazy fan base." So, you're going to probably end up with a Jeff Brom from Purdue, or you're going to end up with a coordinator somewhere. But coordinators work out well too. Kirby Smart at Georgia. I just got to vote for the National Coach of the Year award. I didn't vote for Smart in first place, but I voted him second. A longtime coordinator at Alabama, a well-regarded coordinator. But sometimes you can find that diamond in the rough, and it's not so much rough. If you're taking an SEC coordinator, you're probably finding somebody who's they're making more money than most head coaches make, and you've got guys who work for great coaches themselves. So, but that said, I don't know that that's going to really appease this fan base. Someone else's coordinators. We did all this to end up with a coordinator from somewhere else. We want Gruden. We want Jimbo Fisher, and that's going to be the hard part when a name's announced. What's the reaction going to be? I worry about that just for Tennessee's sake.
Well, you got to have patience, and that's the one thing that Tennessee fans are short on right now. And you brought up Kirby Smart with Georgia. He didn't have a good year last year. It was decent. I would say decent by all aspects. Looking at it, you're coming in after Mark Richt. Mark Richt takes off and goes to Miami, and then they're questioning you down there of whether or not this was a good hire or not, Kirby Smart being the new head coach at Georgia. And then look what he does this year. He turns around, wins the SEC. He does remarkable things, unlike what happened at Florida. And so, you had one of the best offensive minds, offensive gurus there with Florida's coach, and then what happened? If you come in from Alabama and he goes to Florida, and he ends up lousing the whole thing up. He leaves. He's gone. And so now they end up having Dan Mullins, so they hire within the SEC a little bit more, someone that at least had some kind of tie to Florida football to begin with. So, they're going to have to be patient. That's a big thing. And some of those fans aren't going to be patient right now at this point. It's going to take some time to get some patience built up in the program.
Patience. We all need to have it, and none of us do. That's the story of life, I guess. Rod Mullins, Appalachian Chained. Thanks, Rod, for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Chris.